Hi, this is Richard Kuzami, and this is the November meeting of the Old Astoria Neighborhood Association. Thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate everybody's participation. I'd like to start off with taking a quick moment to a moment of silence to remember those in the Middle East who are having to go through such trials and tribulations. And we hope for peace soon for all. So, for a moment. Okay, thank you. Okay, so it's our November 15th meeting, and our program is going to feature a discussion on the new public realm and the New York City Office of the Public Realm. Plus, we're also going to discuss different small business issues. We'd like to start with some announcements. The first announcement will be the Port Authority will be joining us on December 12th at the Sweet Spot on 31st Street at 6:30 p.m. And we are going to be discussing the proposed shuttle from the Ditmars and 31st Streets station going to LaGuardia. This is a replacement for the air train that was previously approved and then disapproved. So I think this is something that's going to be our first live meeting in quite a while. So we do hope people come down and make their thoughts heard on this important subject. There will be other presenters also to be determined. Also, we'd like to let everybody know, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, the Revell mopeds that have been such an integral part of our community for years. The small mopeds that people leave at their destinations and then somebody else picks them up. They are being shut down. They will no longer be in service. They had too many problems and legal issues. A lot of them were predicated from, frankly, people abusing the service, not wearing helmets, not following traffic laws, and it got to be too big a liability for them, so that they are shutting down the service. They are still running a car rental service. You've seen their larger vehicles, the electric cars. So anyways, it's a shame to see something like this disappearing because of a few people abusing it, but this is what happens. Also, on a brighter note, Rise Light and Power has received the authorization to convert the Ravenswood Big Alice plant. And that's the one with the big stacks that you see when you're crossing the Queensboro Bridge into Queens. If you look on your left-hand side, this is a peaker plant that has been around for many years and has been a big fossil fuel user and polluter of our neighborhood for many, many, many years. The Rise Light and Power purchased the facility, and they are going to be converting it as a station to transmit wind power. So we're looking forward to this, and we're looking forward to the conversion of all of the fossil fuel plants in our neighborhood to sustainable power. That's very good news. I'd also like to mention that DOT did approve an all-way stop at 18th Street and Astoria Park South, the southern entrance to the Astoria Park and the track and field house. That has been greatly needed. You have a lot of dog owners and pedestrians constantly crossing there, particularly during the park season. And it was just a disaster waiting to happen. So we're glad that they got ahead of it and they have put in the four-way stop. And also, I think there's 1 week, I don't have this specific date yet, but the participatory budgeting from Councilman Tiffany Kavan's office will be accepting for 1 week ideas for different projects. So if you go to her website, if you Google her, you should check it out and give your ideas for what you think will improve the neighborhood in terms of capital expense projects. Okay, thank you. So that's some of the news that we have. Okay, and I'd like to start the program with, a very interesting subject. The mayor and the city just recently started a program or an office of the public realm. So Along those lines, we've invited the new director, who I've known for many years, and she's a great director, and I'm sure she'll do a wonderful job, Yating Lui. And Yating, if you could join us. Hi, how are you?
Good. Hi, Richard. And hi,
Good.
everybody out there that's tuning in. Thank you for
Thanks.
having me tonight.
It's our pleasure. So, I guess I'm going to pretty much leave it to you. I'll have a few
Yeah.
questions later, but explain what is the public realm. This sounds like something out of King Arthur and the Round Table, but
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit different. So, if you could explain what it is that
Yep.
you do and how you hope to improve everybody's quality of life, that would be great. So,
Yeah.
take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you, Richard. Thank you. And good evening, everybody. Nice to meet everyone. And Richard, again, and to the Old Astoria Neighborhood Association, thank you so much for having me. Yating Liu, I'm the Chief Public Realm Officer for the City of New York. This is a newly created position within City Hall, something that a lot of different advocacy groups that are focused on improving the built environment have been calling for a really long time. Um, the most common question that I get is public realm, like defender of the realm, what is that? In fact, when I told my kiddos that I was sort of being appointed and I got this post, my 11-year-old is like, what does that even mean? Are you supposed to be in charge of the outside? How is that supposed to work? So I wanted to take this opportunity and to sort of give you guys a high level view of what is the role and what are some of the major initiatives that we're working on. And then, we could take it from there, get some questions from Richard. But at a high level, when you think about New York City sort of public spaces, when you step outside your building and you step onto the sidewalk, to the curb, to the street, a median, a pocket park, a plaza, a playground, all of these different places have effectively a agency alphabet soup that oversee the kind of jurisdiction and regulation of these spaces, right? And as a member of the public, whether you are just a neighbor, a local resident, or you're a neighborhood association, or you're a business improvement district, and you have either you see an issue that you want to be addressed, or you have any ideas in terms of improvements, or maybe you want to do some programming activation, you have to navigate oftentimes a really sort of confusing Byzantine kind of agency alphabet soup to get the answer. And so, what this role is designed to do, and I sit here at City Hall, as you all can see, and I report up to the Deputy Mayor for Operations, Mira Joshi, and I work very closely, and I have the privilege and luxury of working very closely with Deputy Mayor for Housing, Workforce, Economic Development as well, and their team to effectively have a one-stop shop and to be kind of playing like a quarterback role within City Hall to make sure that all of these different agencies that touch and impact public spaces talk to each other, and that they're coordinated, that we are able to kind of get questions back out to the public, and sort of resolve issues in a more timely manner. So that is sort of high level in terms of the role and where I sit and the kind of reporting structure. And in terms of some of the major initiatives that I'm working on, or our team is working on here, it has to do with basically creating more vibrant public spaces throughout the city in all five boroughs. I think that there, especially post COVID, there's a recognition of just how critical our public spaces are throughout the city, and they are, our front yards and backyards effectively. And not only do we need more of it, we also need to make sure that the spaces that we do have are well maintained, and we also often rely on partners such as yourselves to do that maintenance work, that programming work, the activation work to make that space feel good, like a space that you want to spend time in, right? But at the same time, city government also makes it very hard. There's a lot of red tape and bureaucratic hurdles that we put people through to do these kind of partnerships. So my job is like twofold. It's sort of what I call hardware, trying to expand the public space footprint throughout the city. And it's also software, which is the red tape and the related to like the activation, maintenance, and programming, how we can reduce the friction when external partners want to partner with the city to do those spaces. Other big projects we're working on, just to highlight, outdoor dining is a major sort of initiative that our team has been spearheading, that I've been spearheading with DOT and SBS. Um, we have some also sidewalk shed reform. So, the perennial sidewalk shed or scaffolding that goes up and stays up forever. We're actively working with DOB and the city council to try to advance a package of legislation that could really um, improve and sort of shift incentives for building owners so that they're getting the facade repair done faster and taking the shed down faster. And there's more sort of accountability there. So those are just, and in addition to a lot of the other things that you've heard coming out of this administration related to, containerization um, and these other efforts that make sort of New Yorkers' experience of moving throughout the city hopefully more pleasant and wonderful. So I'll stop there. I know I was sort of, rambling on for a while, but hopefully that gives you a good sort of high level picture.
That gives a great overview. Good. I like that. In fact, you answered one of the main questions that I had, which was basically how do you relate to the other agencies and
Yeah.
who reports to who? So that was one of the questions that I had actually. So
Yeah, I'll say this. I think so much of the public space, it really is. I understand why it's like advocates have been calling for this role for such a long time, because I have to tell you, Richard, and for those that are watching, there is rarely an issue or a project or like a policy related to any sort of public space footprint that doesn't involve multiple agencies.
mhm,
So even if it's like a street and okay, that's DOT, but guess what? DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, deals with all the pipes and the water and the sewer underground. They
mhm,
have to be involved. And then our uniform agencies, should also be involved. And then of course, always without a doubt, especially in the current sort of financial times, OMB law. And so, whether it's a project or a policy related to public spaces or public realm, it really does require that centralized quarterback
mhm.
person here at City Hall to really shepherd, herd the cats and keep that thing going.
So you sound like you are the city agency whisperer. What do you think?
I mean, I try. There's definitely a lot of back and forth. I think I would be remiss if I didn't say that there's just so much. I'm constantly in awe of like the expertise that resides in our city agencies. They very much are the sort of technical experts, but I
Mhm,
think in terms of dynamic between city hall and the agency, it's nothing. It certainly is not unique to this administration, but I think typically city hall, we're thinking big picture, we're thinking moonshot. What are some bold visionary things that we can push and try to do, and then the agencies usually sort of ground some of those ideas, and then you hope that process of like blue sky ground truthing ends up with an outcome that is actually sort of implement, like we're able to actually implement and deliver like a concrete project or policy.
great, good. I have a few questions here I'd like to throw at you.
Sure.
First of all, and how can neighborhood groups like the Old Astoria Neighborhood Association help you and be helpful to your process?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think just starting, I think just this, like having sessions like this, I think is really wonderful. I so that people understand that this role exists and why it exists and what is its function.
Mhm.
I think that is really helpful, and I think to the extent that if the community-based organizations and neighborhood-based organizations have ideas or issues, that you guys know that there's a place that you can go to. Of course, you guys can. I'm sure, Richard, more people in city government probably than I do, but if you are feeling like you're not really sure where to go or start or which jurisdiction, there's always a place that you can come to at City Hall to help.
What you say is was probably true a few years ago, but there's been so many changes recently in personnel and staff that I would end up going to you first, I think. Anyway, okay. And what have been some of your biggest challenges today? Where have you had a lot of pushback? Um,
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I will say that number one, it's just a budget sort of reality of where we are right now in the city budget, dealing with multiple crises right now. And so I think as our agencies are getting, pegs, and having to really be in this time of like a resource constrained environment, the challenge has been how do we build new, right? How do we continue to expand our public space footprint, number one. And then number two is this idea of, and it comes up all the time in so many of the public meetings I go to. I think everybody knows, yeah, if you keep building new things, you need to be able to maintain them. And we have existing spaces now that still need, additional maintenance support. How do we solve for that? And so that those kind of budget and staffing constraints are really real, and trying to find creative ways to either reprioritize existing capital dollars for some of these projects, or I think it's about trying to again rely on external partnerships, right? Because the city can't do everything. But if the Old Astoria Neighborhood Association has an idea, a way for activation, or beautification, and can be helpful and be a partner to the city, then we should find ways to make that kind of partnership easier and not make you go through, a lot of like barriers or red tape to try to make that happen.
music to my ears. We'll see what happens to our ears and the
Yeah.
board here. Yep. Um, and then along those lines, what's the most exciting project that you're working on now, and how do you define success in these projects in the first place?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's like asking me to pick, my favorite child. I have three kiddos, and but here in terms of work, I have to say that the we've been doing something really exciting with the Brooklyn Bridge on the Manhattan side of the Brooklyn Bridge. If folks are not familiar, there's a whole effort that's really community driven, which is why I think it's my favorite, because the whole idea and concept for this was really sort of bottom up. It was a kind of group of local residents that lived in and around the kind of Brooklyn Bridge. So it's like that intersection of like Chinatown, effectively, and like the seaport. It feels a little bit. Um, uh, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like the interstitial spaces between a lot of different neighborhoods kind of converging at the foot of the Brooklyn Bridge on the Manhattan side. A lot of the local residents and public housing tenant associations leader, they like got together and they just saw um, it's an area that has like such little public space, and they would
Mhm.
walk by the Brooklyn Bridge and see that, oh my god, there used to be all of this public space, but that's all closed off now because of DOT bridge construction repair work.
Uh,
And so they came and approached, DOT and City Hall and approached me and my team to say, hey, look at how the space used to be used. And they did the archival research and showed us
Mhm.
images of these vibrant spaces under the bridge that were a huge, skateboard scene and lots of access. So in other words, we were so compelled by this community's like vision and the kind of history work that they did, that we pushed DOT to open up that space. Like, let's go, let's get the repair work done, and let's move. Let's open up these spaces. We opened up the first tranche earlier this summer, and we're planning to open up more of that space under the Brooklyn Bridge next year. And to me, that is something that is like, again, the idea came from the community. It actually was like a really low cost solution, right? It wasn't involving like, let's find gazillion dollars to try to build this whole new thing. It was just like, hey, how about you we move the contractors and move the fencing and open up that space back up to the public. And such an easy thing, and that has made all the difference.
That's great. We've had similar situations here with both under the Queensboro Bridge, and they recently renovating a new park area down there. They're trying to remove some of the storage spots. It's still contentious, though. And even under the Triborough Bridge here, we have a series of playgrounds down here, which were all basically brought up to speed maybe 10, 11 years ago, went through the same process. And it is a
Hmm.
great asset to the community. And not only that, do we have that under there, we also have the ambulance station there for the areas being
Yeah.
handled there and taking that off the streets.
Yeah.
Um, okay, good. One other, I guess, last question, that this is something that's come up. A few people have been asking about this since you are involved with open spaces.
Yeah.
There have been some issues locally with some of the small business, which we'll be discussing more further, and some of the open streets. Some of the businesses are finding that it's affecting them negatively. Have you looked at any kind of, because I think the open streets are a great asset, but they're also, you don't want to affect small business in a negative way.
Yeah.
So have you looked at all, or have you got any feedback along those lines?
Yeah. I mean, I think you raise a very good um, kind of question, or like sort of an example,
Mhm.
that I think generally, there have been reports done. I know, and sorry, I apologize. It's escaping me right now, but I think
Mhm.
maybe it was last year. I know DOT partnered with Bloomberg Philanthropies to do a study on sort of the impact of, maybe it was narrow to just sort of like the outdoor dining setups that were, or the restaurants that were on open streets,
Restaurant
um,
openings as opposed
restaurants on
yeah.
right, that were on open streets,
Mhm.
saw an uptick, an increase
Mhm.
in business and sales, right?
Mhm.
So that's
Mhm.
just one data point. And we know, look, I think this is the wonderful thing about New York too. Like, I think so much of the street topology and the kind of commercial and pedestrian foot like activity, large can vary from corridor to corridor, neighborhood to neighborhood. So I'm sensitive of the neighborhood context here.
Mhm.
But then the other data set recently that we have found too is on Fifth Avenue. Last hot winter holiday season, the city partnered with the Fifth Avenue Association to close down, or having holiday streets where we shut
Right.
down, Fifth Avenue to traffic. It was
Mhm.
filled to the brim with people.
Mhm.
And then we did the study with MasterCard to show that, and this is just MasterCard users, there was an uptick in additional sales of $3 million
Okay.
dollars. And so, in terms of Astoria, or I'm not sure like which street or corridor.
Mhm.
I think sometimes if there's opportunities to kind of gr- like do some data and analysis,
Mhm.
that can really help measure impact, either both positive or negative, right? Of
We have a little different dynamic here. Primarily, we're more automobile driven than you would be in Manhattan. So
Right.
that could be part of the of what's going on here. Anyway, it would be something to look at. Again, like I say, I'm greatly in favor and have been pushing for open streets in a lot of different areas for many years. We are in general too. So
Yeah.
But I also think that we also have to look out for the particularly the brick and mortar
Yeah,
restaurants.
absolutely.
That they are a huge part of our community. We're known for it, and we need to protect them and make sure they survive. So good. Okay. Good. So yeah. Is there anything else you would like to say in terms of outreach? If people want to contact you, how they would go about it?
Yeah, I'm happy to share my, I guess, my email or my staff email. That's probably better. So Richard, I don't know if I could share that now with everyone, or maybe in one of your future newsletters, you can kind of let folks know my contact information. Happy to get in touch.
You can put it in the private chat if you'd like, and then we will send it out on the YouTube and Facebook feed.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. I mean, I would say in terms of just kind of final, words or thoughts is that I think that, you know, I think having quality, vibrant public spaces is so important to quality of life, in any community. I think that on the government side, it is again, the bureaucracy could be quite complex involving that, and I think my goal and our team's goal here is to sort of be responsive and try to like be problem solving oriented so that we can you know uh, at least run down and be more efficient in terms of getting answers back to people on like where things stand or projects or issues or ideas or what have you. And so it just really encourage folks out there, if there's ideas, if there's ideas for projects or policies, like we're here, we're open, and really would welcome the feedback.
Great. Well, if you accomplish even half of that, we're going to be so far ahead. And I really wish you well, and I hope you keep your sanity.
Thank you. I need it.
And there's a couple projects I do want to reach out to you about that I'd like to discuss with you further.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
That'd be great. Yeah, and then I'll put my email into the chat for you here, so you can, distribute. Yep.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And again, we greatly appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to any updates. And anytime you want to do any outreach, we're here and we're happy to help.
Appreciate it so much. Thanks again, Richard. Thanks again, everybody, for having.
Okay, thank you. That's a wonderful, wonderful idea, and we do hope that she's successful because it's often very difficult to deal with new ideas when you're trying to navigate the bureaucracy. That's a big problem in New York City or all over the world, actually. And we do truly hope she's successful. We'll all gain by it. Okay, our next section is going to be primarily working towards economic development. And again, this is dealing with, we're going to start this off dealing with a city agency. Our mayor has proposed streamlining all the zoning laws to create better economic, sustainable, and housing outcomes for the city. This is primarily an effort to try and reduce that bureaucratic maze that you have to get through. And Colin Ryan, who is a representative for the Department of City Planning in CD District 1 in our area here, would like to come on for a second. He's going to explain a new initiative on economic development. It's called the City of Yes. This particular project is now with the community boards. It's being voted on. It will be in the next 3 months, I think. But I think it's important that we explain a little bit of what their initiatives are, and we can then further discuss them with some of our other panelists that come up. So, Colin, would you like to join us? Hey, Colin. There we go.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. How you doing? Do you hear me?
All right, I'm sorry, I'm having some feedback issues, but I believe that this is working, right? I'm going to share my screen and you can tell me if something's gone awry.
It seems okay at this point.
Okay, great. All right, Richard, thank you for that intro. That was definitely covered a lot of what we're going to go through today. But just to reintroduce myself again, my name is Colin Ryan. I'm with the Department of City Planning, and I am the liaison to Community Board 1, which is in this district. And yeah, today I'm going to walk through about a 5 to 10 minute presentation to give you the background to the citywide text amendment titled City of Yes for Economic Opportunity. We'll go through 4 of the goals associated with this proposal, and yeah, I'll try and keep this brief for everybody. So the City of Yes for Economic Opportunity is the second in a sequence of citywide reforms to our zoning resolution. And the other 2 proposals are the City of Yes for Carbon Neutrality, which is currently in public review, and the City of Yes for Housing Opportunity, which is expected to start public review next spring. Before we dive into the policy itself, I think it's helpful to go over what zoning governs when it comes to business in New York City. Zoning defines hundreds of what are called uses or business types and sorts them by zoning district and regulates things like what kind of business activities you can do in your space and how big you can be. And because in many cases, the way that zoning regulates businesses hasn't been updated in more than 60 years, there are outdated and sometimes counterproductive regulations on business activity, like preventing a bar from advertising the time a band might perform, or setting a strict square footage cap on how much space a bakery can devote to baking. New York City can be a challenging place to run a business, and dealing with government regulation is often frustrating, slow, confusing, or seemingly illogical. And often, all of this red tape makes investing in businesses hard, and that in turn contributes to our cities being less vibrant. Our rules governing businesses, many of which are more than 6 years old, are holding our businesses back by either restricting them outright from locating or regulating how they do their businesses with some sort of old or complicated rule. Our overarching vision for this initiative is to make sure that our zoning works for our economy and not against it. And as a result of this work, to have zoning resolution that is more simple, more adaptable, and more modern. So how do we achieve this? We divided our vision into 4 overarching goals. First, we want to make it easier for businesses to find space and grow. The main way we propose to do this is by lifting zoning barriers so businesses can be closer to their customers. Second, we want to support growing industries by reducing obstacles for emerging business types, which can help them thrive across the city and create jobs. Third, we want to foster vibrant neighborhoods by ensuring that businesses contribute to active, safe, and walkable streets. Fourth and finally, we want to create new opportunities for businesses to open in the future by creating a new kind of zoning tools that can boost job growth and business expansion in all 5 boroughs. I'll close out by sharing a roadmap for the process to come. After more than a year getting in front of as many audiences as we can, presenting on our ideas for solutions to the problems businesses are facing today, and soliciting your feedback and questions about these proposals, we are in the process of going before every community board and community groups that are interested for a formal public review. This process will culminate in a city council vote sometime next spring. With that, thank you for your time, and I'll open the floor back up to Richard.
Yeah, thank you, Colin. Appreciate that as a general overview. So, a lot of what's going on with in the local area, I know around here, is that often zoning is being that it's so old. There's a lot of areas that are zoned residential that are actually in districts that are warehousing, manufacturing, commercial, things like that. The Ravenswood area, which is part of our jurisdiction, has a lot of that. And that does cause issues for businesses as they try to expand. Okay, they have to go through all sorts of bureaucratic hurdles. So, will this address any of that, or will that have to go through specific rezonings for specific areas, or can it be addressed within this city of Yes?
Yeah, that's a really good question. As it pertains particularly to Ravenswood, a lot of those uses we see there aren't necessarily addressed by this proposal, and I think more will need to be have a more kind of individual approach to how we look at that. But I think there's many other ways that this proposal is intended to kind of streamline and help the vacancy issue that we see across the city, but also particularly within Astoria and Old Astoria, like potentially like along Astoria Boulevard. So those are kind of the citywide approach that we're tackling.
Good. And will there be anything incentives like changing the streetscapes and things like that? Will they be incorporating easier use for some of the sidewalk cafes and things like that? What other specific items are being addressed in this? If you can, are there anything more specific you can say that'll help small business along our corridors?
Yeah, I'm happy to share some of the proposals. I do just want to let folks know that a more like in-depth version of this presentation will be given to the community board sometime in December. But just to give a high level share, like one of our goals is also to create a streetscape framework to create more vibrant corridors. This includes glazing, so like the windows that are required for like commercial districts, and also finding ways to make sure that zoning is not a barrier that would inhibit reactivating vacant storefronts.
Good. Is there anything that you will be working specifically with the Office of the Public Realm? Do you have any contact with them? What they're trying to do with open spaces? Our previous presenter.
That's a great question. I'm not entirely sure what the coordination has been like with between my agency and the Office of the Public Realm. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay, that sounds like you guys should be working closely together, for everybody's good. Okay. Well, I wanted to get out there and let people know that, in fact, there are programs that are being done by DCP. We do have a few minutes here. If you want to just briefly explain a little bit about the sustainability and the housing programs, whatever you might want to let people know about how these are progressing and what they entail in general. We're running quicker than I thought, so.
Sure. I don't really have anything today prepared, unfortunately, regarding that. So all I can do is really share a link that will have a greater in-depth explanation that would do it much more justice than I could today.
Okay, fine. You would put the link in the private chat, and then we would, it'll go out over the feed for Facebook and YouTube. Okay, So anything you do. Well, thank you, Colin, for joining us. It's great to have this overview, and we're glad to see the city's looking ahead to try and make our zoning more attuned to what's actually needed in the city. So I think that's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay, and we hope to have you soon back again soon. Okay, Talisha, like to bring out Man Lee. Okay, Man Lee is from the U.S. Small Business Administration, Man Lee Lin, and she's the outreach coordinator for them. The Small Business Administration, this is a federal government that has numerous plans for small business, including grant programs and a lot of different tools that can be used to make our businesses stronger. So, Man Lee. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Richard. Hi, everyone.
Good.
Good.
So
Thank
I'd like
you
to
for the
bring you.
opportunity to talk about SBA's program.
Okay, I'd like to bring you. I'll let you start to make your presentation right now. Okay. We know that they're having a few issues with the broadcast, the technical side, but I'm sure that we'll be able to get the presentation in so that people will have a good knowledge of what's going on. I will also say, Man Lee, if you can put your information in the chat so that people can reach you, because we may not be able to ask a lot of questions right now. Okay?
Okay. So I'm sharing my PowerPoint. Okay. So SBA's Small Business Administration is a federal agency. So if you go to sba.gov, you can see all our informations in more than 30 different languages. So you can choose the one you feel more comfortable with. So like no matter what stage of your business, from planning your business, launch your business, manage your business, and expand your business, you can see here when you are planning, very interested in the funding opportunities. So SBA, I think during the pandemic, everybody got PPP, and also the IDO. Also, we help business to get government contract. I will go to the detail, but a lot of small business, they share with us when they are manage their business, they feel so lonely because every time when they encounter situation, they feel they have nobody they can go to get advice or the counseling. So SBA, actually we provide one-on-one free counseling through our resource partner. So if you go to this website, local assistance, enter your zip code, you can see all the centers near you will show up. So we founded our resource partner. They provide one-on-one counseling for us. Other than our resource partner, we have 504 Loans Certified Developed Corporation. Actually, they manage SBA's 40% loan process. And also we have Procurement Technical Assistance Center that help business to get city, state, and federal government. Also, SBA and the U.S. Department of Commerce and Exim Bank, with 3 agencies together, we have U.S. Export Assistance Center. In New York, we have 3 centers in the city to help small business to get government contract. We really have, we are here actually. We protect the small business and help small business to get the contract. So you can see here why we want to encourage all the small businesses to pursue the government contract. Because U.S. government is the biggest buyers in the whole world. Every year, U.S. government spend more than $500 billion to buy almost everything, okay, from paper clips to aircrafts. And for small business, we have special uh, protection. So all the federal government agency, they have to reach the goal. More than 23% of the pen have to buy from small disadvantaged businesses, 3% from HUBZONE, historically underutilized, and 3% for service disabled veterans, and 5% for women-owned small business. So if you are a minority women-owned business, actually you have 17% set aside for you. Okay, so really encourage you to find opportunities. So first things, you should find out which agency they may need your product or services. So you can go to sam.gov. During the pandemic, I think the best thing is we combine all the websites together. So in the past, you have to go to several different websites to find the opportunity. But now you can just go to SAM. All the federal government agencies, if they're purchase anything over $25,000, they have to post on SAM.gov. And then the second website is USA spending. Every penny that government spend, they have to post here. So if you can go to this website, you can find out which agency bought what from which business. So you can learn about those agency and those awardees. And also government encourages small business team up to get a bigger contract. So small business, should teaming up and find those awardees before, contractor before, and teaming up for the future contract opportunities. So the first thing small business should do is to open an account in SAM.gov. And also at the end of the SAM registration, you should put your company's information in a dynamic small business search. It's a database for all the federal government agency. If they're looking for the suppliers, they have to go to this database. So you just upload your information, like your resume. And this is the certification, because I mentioned that we have set aside protection. So you can see for veterans and service disabled veterans, we have for minority, women-owned business, HUBZONE programs. Go to different websites. You can certify by yourself. So the other things to find opportunity is to identify subcontracting opportunities, especially if you never worked with any government agency before. You need to learn how to do business with government. So you should go to the subnet website, because by law, those prime contractor, they have to sub out. If they get contract more than $750,000 or $1.5 million for construction. So you can be the subcontractor, learn from the prime contractor. I want to talk about those certification qualification. So please, if you're qualified for any of these certification, you should certify as early as possible. Do not wait until you see an opportunities and then you don't have the certification. Of course, some business ask me if they don't want to certify, can they still get government contract? The answer is yes, but you have to compete with everyone. But if you certify for any category, you only compete with those business in the same category as yours. So for the 8A certification, the official name is socially and economic disadvantaged business. In the past, if you are one of the following 5 groups, you are automatically socially disadvantaged. Black American, Asian Pacific American, Hispanic American, Native American, or subcontinent Asian American. But now, because there is one lawsuit, so actually all the business have to show that you have experienced bias. Okay, so that's the new rules from September 29th this year. So this is the qualification. First, you have to be a small business. What's the definition of small business for SBA? If you are in the manufacturing industry, if you have fewer than 500 employees, you are a small business. If you're not in the manufacturing industry, depends on your annual income. Generally speaking, is less than $7.5 million, but depends on your industry. Like construction industry can go up to $34.4 million and still is a small business. And also 51% owned and controlled by U.S. citizens and who are socially and economically disadvantaged. And yes, for federal government contract, actually you have to be U.S. citizen, 51% more. For the economic situation, they have net worth have to be less than 850,000. For gross income is 400,000, and the assets can have to be less than $6.5 million. And you show that you have good character, you didn't do anything illegal, or you didn't own government money. Okay? So the certification, how do you certify? You certify by yourself. But just prepare all the documents needed before you go to the website, because you have to upload those documents. Otherwise, back and forth, even take a longer time. We also have an office that can help you. The best things is the best one, I think, from now on, that every third Wednesday, 2 to 3 p.m., you can call them to ask any questions related to 8A certification. The next certification is for women-owned business. Actually, there are 2 groups of women-owned certification. The first one is women-owned. The second one is economic disadvantaged women-owned. So totally have 759 next code. So please go to the website to make sure your next code actually are or is on the website. And women have to be at least 51% owned and control, and have to be U.S. citizen. And women must be the managers, manage the day-to-day operation, and also make long-term decisions. Actually, 2 years ago, women-owned business can certify by themselves and get a certificate. But Congress found out a lot of so-called women-owned business, they are not really the manager. So right now, you still can apply by yourself, but you have to get approval from SBA. So this is the website. You can certify by yourself. Also, SBA will provide third-party certification with 4 organizations. But just want to make it clear, they charge a fee. If you certify on the website that I mentioned, is all free. But if you want to hire the third party to certify for you, you have to pay the fee. HUBZONE certification, right now, this is a 3% set aside, is the only goal that government never reached. Okay, so historically underutilized zone, there is a map here. We have a new map, start from July 1st this year. There are two requirements. The first one is your principal office, means the biggest number of your employees work there. Doesn't have to be headquarters, have to be in the hub zone. So you can go to the map and then you enter your address. They will tell you right away if you are in the hub zone. The second requirement is more than 35% of your employees have to live in the hub zone, any hub zone nationwide. Doesn't have to be in the same hub zone as your business located. So, 35% sounds a lot. But for small business, actually, they count employers as a employee too. So for example, if you only have one employee, so either you or your employees live in a hub zone, you have 50% qualifying, okay? Just show you here. So this is 5 borough, okay, Queens. You can see the hub zone area. So I encourage you to pursue this because a lot of advantage if you certify for hub zone. Number one is 3% set aside. Number two is sole source award. What does that mean? There is a rule, we call it rule of two. They need to have at least 2 business approach me, then I can choose one. But if you are HUBZONE certified, you don't have to compete with anybody. As long as the quality of your product or services is good and the price is reasonable, I can buy from you. Also, for HUBZONE certified, you can get a 10% price evaluation preference. So means, normally the procurement officer, they choose the best quality to buy from. But if 2 business, they have the same quality, then procurement officer have to buy the lower price one. But if you are HUBZONE certified, your price can be 10% higher than your competitor. And the procurement officer can still buy from you. So that's huge, okay, especially if you have a big project. So this is how you certify for the HUBZONE. They simplify the procedure. I think for all the certification, actually HUBZONE is the easiest one. You just have to prepare your business address and all your employees' address to prove that you are in a HUBZONE, and 35% of your employees live in a HUBZONE. The last one I want to talk about the certification for veterans. There are 2 kinds of certification. The first one is for veterans on small business. You can certify through VA to compete for the VA's contract. VA, they have 7% of their contract set aside for the certified business. The second one is service disabled veterans on business have to certify through SBA. This is something new, start from 2023. To compete, the 3% set aside for all the government agency. And you can see here, we have an office help veterans business with anything that we can help, and also, of course, the contract. Okay, SBA, we work with FEMA, with the disaster assistance. I hope we don't need that anymore, but when something happens, but have to be the federal declared disaster area. Okay? So we help everyone, not just small business, including all the business and homeowners and the renters. If they are, furniture or car, vehicle damaged. We also help nonprofit organizations after the disaster with disaster loan. Very low interest rate is like 2 point something. So for the PPP loan during the pandemic is the first time that SBA we have the program to help the disaster and is forgivable. So normally is loan. There's no grant. Now I'm going to talk about SBA's financing program. No matter including loan and venture capitalists, and also we have the surety bond and the 2 grants. But these 2 grants actually is not to help you with your operation or starting your business. It's for R&D to do the research and development. When you go to sba.gov at the landing page, you can see lender match. You click find lenders. You have to answer questions like how much you want to borrow and how many years in your business, how many employees, and your past 3 years, your tax return information. You can get matched in 2 days. So you talk to those lenders, they think you are lendable. Right now, we have more than 800 lenders participate in this program. Then you can choose the best one, apply for the loan. So for loan, you can see SBA, we have so many loan programs. So you can borrow from $500 to $5.5 million. So SBA, we guarantee to the lenders. SBA is not a lender. We guarantee to the lenders. We have agreement with those lenders. There are more than 4,000 nationwide. The lenders, they make loan to small business. If something happens, they cannot repay the debt. Then SBA will return the debt to the lenders up to 90%. So we reduce the lender's risk, and that's the way that we work with lenders to help small business. So not everyone need SBA's guarantee. If you go to your bank or any lender, they have their own loan program. If you are qualified for their loan program, that's the best. But if the lenders, they think it's too risky, they cannot make loan to you unless SBA guarantee to the loan. Then they will submit your loan package to SBA to get approval. So lenders, actually, they are the one handle all the loan transactions. You don't have to contact SBA. You need to submit all the documents to the lender, and they will work with SBA. So I'm going to talk about 3 big categories: 7A, 504, and microloan for startups. So 7A loan is our prime loan programs. You can see you can use the process almost for everything, even refinance your existing debt. And you can borrow up to $5 million. The interest rate is prime rate plus 3 to 6.5%. If you borrow more than $500,000, also have to pay the guarantee fee. What are the eligibilities requirement? The first one have to be an operating business. If you haven't started or already closed, you cannot. Operate for profits, have to be for profit and located in the U.S. and also have to be a small business. The same requirement as I mentioned before, and you didn't do any illegal business, and also you cannot get from other places, and you can show that you have the reasonable ability to repay the loan. So that's the eligibility. Under the 7A loan programs, this is a new loan program we call 7A small loan. So you can borrow up to $350,000, and now actually they lifted a lot of restrictions. If you borrow less than $25,000, you don't have to provide the collateral, and also a lot of limitation all be lifted. So you can talk to the lenders about this loan. Under 7A loan, we have express loan. So through our selected, we call preferred lender, the loan can be approved within 48 hours. You can borrow up to $500,000. So this is for the emergency use. Okay. We also have cap line loan programs. There are four under these programs, like a working capital line, and also contract line and seasonal line and builder lines. Can I see? Okay. So the next category is the 504 loan. Okay, 504 loan is a very special program. For business to buy the property or machinery or do the improvement or modernization of your facility. So you can see the pie chart, the 10% orange part, that's the business owner have to invest. And then the red part, 40%, SBA will lend you 40%, and we will work with lenders, lend you 50%. So actually, you can get 90% financing to do those things that I just mentioned. And the beauty of these programs, actually, you only pay 10% down. The requirement is you have to use more than 51% of the property for your own business. 40-something% you can rent out. So a lot of business actually, they invest. And then they can rent out 40-something% and use the rent to pay the mortgage. And the total amount can go up to $12 million. Because for the SBA's 40% part can go up to $5.5 million. So the whole project can go up to $12 million. The third group's financing programs is for startups. We call microloan. You can borrow from $500 to $50,000. So this program, SBA will work with nonprofit organizations in different communities. SBA lend them money, and then they can lend out to startups. So these programs actually, those interest rates decided by those individual or nonprofit organization. So I have the list of the microloan lenders here. So you can find out by calling them, find out the interest rate and the qualification and what they should prepare. SBA will also have a program actually for the venture capitalist. So $2 matched $1, they invest in the small business. So here you can see I have the SBIC directory. So you can find which venture capitalist actually they meet your need and you meet their requirement. But you have to prepare your business plan before you talk to them. you pitch to them. But they are private sectors. They want to have some shares and also be active in your business. The next program is a surety bonds program. So for this is the most for construction company. When construction company get government contract, normally government agents were required to have bonding. Bonding is like insurance. Make sure have money to pay the worker and can complete that job. So a lot of small businesses, they cannot get enough funding, so they will lose the chance to get a contract from the government agency. So SBA, we have a surety bond program. We guarantee the surety bonds. For international trade business, actually, we have 3 loan programs. One is express loan, one is working capital, and the other one is international trade program. So originally we call exporting loan. But now actually we broaden the definition of exporter. So even you are not an exporter, if you help, you sell your product or provide services to exporters, you can use this loan. So in New York, of course, we don't have too many manufacturing industry here to produce those products for exporting. But New York actually, is famous for our financial, for our design, for our fashion, and for the IT creative industry. So even right now for the college, okay, if a college have foreign students and they do marketing to the foreign countries, they can use the international trade law. And of course, New York, we are the tourism industry's capital. So I believe many of the tourism-related industry can use the international trade law. SBA also provide funding to each of the states, each of the 50 states. So each state will get funding to help the exporter. They, like New York State, if you participate in a trade mission or trade show, or you want to upgrade your, like your website, or translate your marketing materials, and of course, want to learn about how to exporting. Please check the website to check the grants. Okay, this is grants they will provide you. They will reimburse your expenses if you go to foreign country trade mission. They will reimburse up to 70% of your expenses. So I think 2024, a lot of business actually should to think about to expand your business to the global market. And the last one, there are 2 grants, but I already mentioned the grants is for research and development. One is a Small Business Innovation Research Program, and the other one is Small Business Technology Transfer Program. So you can go to the website. They just updated, launch a new website, have all the good information. So these 2 programs actually, SBA, we provide oversight and guidance to the 11 participating government agency. We have to collect all the data, report to the Congress. Also, we have to make sure that small business get part of the award. So this is, we also provide funding to organizations. Like this year, we have a growth accelerator fund competition. So those winners, they have funds to help business want to pursue these 2 grants. So these are the 11 government agencies participate in innovation research. Actually, I think we have a lot of business can help the government, especially now we have a lot of problems with the Department of Education and Health and Human Services. So if you can participate, do the research and solve the problem for the government, help the nation. The second program is the technology transfer program. Small business have to work with a non-profit research institution. So there are 5 agencies participate in this program. According to their budget, they have to allocate some of percentage to these 2 programs. So every year, more than 5,000 awardees, and each of the awards is more than $1 million. So both of the programs actually have 3 phases. Okay, so I won't go to the detail today. Please just go to the website to find out. First, those agencies, they were announced their solicitation, and then all the business want to do the R&D or can do the R&D can submit a proposal, and then they will review the proposal and make decision award the awardees. The last few these slides I want to talk about. This year, actually, we have the Small Business Saturday will be on November 25th. That's the day after the Black Friday. So the new, actually, American Express, they create this program, Small Business Saturday, in 2010. And then 2011, SBA partnered with them to help this campaign. So you can see here that actually we encourage everybody should shop local, shop small on the Small Business Saturday. The flyer I show here, you can find them on American Express website, and small business actually can register on the small business the map. Okay, so I also will have a presentation on tomorrow 16 to explain and also to talk about how to attract your customers can come to shop small and shop local. That's our goal. Our small business in our neighborhood, they need help, and that's the day. And through the years, actually, we should show how we can support our local business. So this is the information that actually I will talk about. For small business, should have use the social media campaign or email marketing and collaborated with and partner with the local influencers or bloggers or community leaders, and also can provide the post promotion. Means if several businesses can combine together and encourage the business to go to all, you get a special rewards. And online advertising, local events and pop-up. This year, I hope that some community organizations can help the local business get together. Community actually is the key point to help the small business. Okay? And also virtual merchandising. So design the eye-catching displays. You can download, actually go to the American Express website and put up some incentives actually for your customers. So thank them, and also encourage them come back to you the whole year long. So we are here for you. Okay, all the organizations, all our resource partner, and SBA. So look forward to see everyone. And if you want to get my webinars information, please send me an email. This concludes my presentation today.
Thank you so much, Manli. We're sorry, everybody, for some of the technical difficulties, but I would like to make sure everybody knows that this presentation is recorded. You can go to our website, www.oana-ny.org, and you can revisit this presentation if there's something you missed. Manli, thank you so much for giving us a ton of information in here, a lot of opportunities. I hope that some of our audience will be able to take advantage of them. If you would put your email in the chat, that would be great. You put it in the private chat and we'll post it in the stream. So if people need to reach out directly to you, they can do so. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
And everybody listen. Also, I want to reiterate, if you have any questions on any of these presenters, just put the question in the chat on Facebook or YouTube, and we will be able to see it and respond. Okay, Manli, thank you so much again for joining us, and we hope to have you again soon, particularly when we fix the technical issues. Okay, great. Okay. Again, a lot of opportunities. There is a lot of money that the federal government is putting out towards small business. And also some of those numbers look like pretty large business to me. So I think it's important for everybody that is in business to know these opportunities, investigate them, and see if they can help you be a successful entrepreneur. Now, next, one of my favorite people. We got to know each other quite well during the pandemic when we were doing a lot of work together on this same program, discussing issues in particular with our restaurants and nightlife industries and everything that was so badly affected by the pandemic. This is always very important to me, as my regular job is I am a musician. So again, I was directly affected myself. Andrew Reggie from the New York City Hospitality Alliance. He's a very well-known guy. You can see him all the time on TV. He does speak so well for our industry, the hospitality and nightlife industry, and I'm so happy that he can join us. He's going to make a presentation as to what he does and how he can help anybody within that business. A story that's very important. We're known for our restaurants, and I'm sure he'll have a lot of great insights. Andrew?
Thank you, Richard. Good to see you. Thanks for the kind words. Hello, everyone. Good to be here. So as Richard said, my name is Andrew Ridgey. I am the Executive Director of the New York City Hospitality Alliance. We are a nonprofit that represents restaurants, bars, and nightclubs across the 5 boroughs. Think of us basically like a chamber of commerce, but focused specifically on serving and advocating for restaurants, bars, nightclubs, and the overall hospitality industry. I love Astoria. It's my old neighborhood. I was just there recently, had great dinner, great food, got a great so much great stuff in the neighborhood. So I'm going to touch on a few different topics. I know some of the topics may have already been discussed briefly, but I'm going to give it to you from our perspective, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. So I think you got a presentation earlier about outdoor dining. Just to put everything in perspective, before the pandemic, there were about 1,100 sidewalk cafes across the 5 boroughs. The vast majority of those were located south of 96th Street in Manhattan. Probably the vast majority of those were located, south of, 59th Street or so. But when we launched the open restaurants program during the pandemic, it increased to almost 13,000 restaurants that had roadway dining and or a sidewalk cafe throughout the pandemic. It saved 100,000 jobs and really gave people the ability to get together and socialize after they had to be socially distant. It saved businesses, and I think it brought a vibrancy and a strength back to the city. But now it's been going on for a long time, and politics are tough, and we advocate on behalf of the restaurant industry. So getting to where we are today, which essentially means transitioning from a temporary emergency outdoor dining program into a more standardized, sustainable outdoor dining program that can be successful for many years, had a lot of challenges and complexities to it, because we knew we wanted something that was much more inclusive, much more better than uh, the sidewalk cafe law that we had pre-pandemic. Like I said, most of it was, Manhattan, which is fine. That's great, but it should be distributed across the city. And even restaurants like in Astoria or other neighborhoods in Queens that could have a sidewalk cafe, often there was too much red tape, too much bureaucracy, and the fees were just cost prohibitive, particularly for small businesses to have outdoor dining. So trying to get a program that was better than what we had before, but that basically took the good stuff from the temporary emergency program and gets rid of the bad stuff and creates a more standardized program. And several months ago, the city council passed a permanent outdoor dining law. The mayor signed it into law, and it is much better than what we ever had. The fees to participate are significantly lower. Restaurants that were, priced out of it or didn't want to go through the headaches of the permitting licensing process, some of that has changed. So not only will it cost less money to get outdoor dining, you'll also have a more streamlined permitting and licensing process. And one of the huge victories is thousands of restaurants that were just restricted due to zoning from ever having a sidewalk cafe will now be able to have outdoor dining under the permanent outdoor dining program. So there's a lot of pros. Depending on which side you're on, there was a lot of restaurateurs that were frustrated that although sidewalk cafes will be year round, roadway dining will only be 8 months out of the year. So you have to set your stuff up, you'll have to remove it, find a place to store it, and then bring it and set it back up in the coming spring season. So that's something that is being sought out now. As Yating may have mentioned earlier, the city, after they pass the law, have to do what they call rulemaking. So the Department of Transportation, which is the agency responsible for overseeing outdoor dining, proposes these rules. There is a hearing on Monday. We are submitting very detailed technical comments, and that'll answer a lot of the outstanding questions many restaurateurs and other just New Yorkers have about what the future of outdoor dining is going to look like. The rules will deal with some technical stuff about the implementation, but it will also deal with the design standards. What can a roadway dining structure look like? What kind of material has to be used? What happens when there's two restaurants right next to each other and they both have outdoor dining? Will they have to have, distance between them? How are they going to be accessible? The allowance for lighting or heating units in them. All of this stuff is dealt with in the rules. Richard, when we submit them next week at this public hearing, I'm happy to share a copy with you and you can distribute it to your email list. People may find it interesting. But I won't bore everyone with the real technical aspects. But what we hope is going to happen is they're going to incorporate many of our comments. I do have to give credit to the Department of Transportation and the city as a whole, Yating. They put a lot of thought, careful thought, into developing these proposed rules. There's obviously some things that need to be worked out that we are advocating for, but we're hoping we're going to be able to transition over the next year to a much better outdoor dining program than we ever had before the pandemic, that allows restaurants to have outdoor dining, creating jobs, generating tax revenue, activating the streetscape, but doing it in a more organized way, getting a lot of that crap that's out there down, ensuring everything that's out there is beautiful, it's being used, and it's a real asset to the city. So we're really excited. There's still some of this technical stuff that needs to get worked out, but we seem to be on a good path. And, over the coming weeks or months, we'll have all the details, and then we'll be working with restaurants to apply for the permanent program and transition into it in 2024. So that's my brief update on outdoor dining. The next issue has to do with these bounty hunter noise violations. If you're not familiar, or fortunately you're not a restaurant or another business that has got hit with them, I'll explain quickly what it is. You have a few what we're calling bounty hunters out there that are issuing, they're not inspectors, they're civilians that are issuing thousands and thousands of violations to businesses if you can hear their music on the street. So without getting into all the technicalities of it, there's a section of the law that allows everyday civilians to go out and use a section of the code that was originally created. If you remember, on busy streets, you would have like an electronics store that would be marketing out on the street with, a microphone and speakers saying, come in, we got the best deals on, stereo equipment, the lowest prices, stuff like that. And a law was passed to basically stop that on-street marketing. And it worked to an extent, but years later, a couple of these very entrepreneurial bounty hunters have been using this section of the code. And instead of using it how it was intended, they're going around, and if they can hear a business's music from inside on the street, they're writing these violations, and they're adding up to thousands and thousands of dollars for small business owners, and it's hugely problematic. So we're working on a law that will help end this exploitation of this law and exploitation of small business owners. What we say is there should be an objective sound code, which there is, and the city of New York should go out and enforce it, which they do and they can. But we cannot have private citizens that want to make, like this one individual, I believe, over $200,000 last year, going out and issuing all of these violations. It's out of control, it's unfair, and it's hugely problematic. So we're working on a bill in the city council that'll hopefully stop these bounty hunters from exploiting the law, giving small business owners some peace of mind, and ensuring that they have an objective noise standard that they can comply with. And if they don't, the city should go out and enforce it. But the situation right now is untenable, and it's a big problem, and it needs to be stopped. Another issue is about temporary liquor licenses. Right now, if anyone's going to open up a new restaurant or a bar, it can take anywhere from 7 to 10 plus months to get a liquor license. Most small businesses do not have the capital to hang on and wait that long to open up a new business. And many landlords won't wait around that long for a business to see if they're going to get their liquor license. Now, outside of New York City, around the rest of New York State, you are permitted to get what is called a temporary liquor license, which essentially is just that. It's a temporary liquor license that you're issued so you can begin serving alcohol while your full liquor license, the official one, is going through the full administrative process at the state liquor authority. New York City was discriminated against, and we weren't even eligible for temporary liquor licenses. Well, the New York City Hospitality Alliance advocated really strongly, and thankfully, a couple of years ago, we got a law passed that allowed temporary liquor licenses to be issued in the city of New York. So you could get a liquor license or a temporary one within a few months, while the official license was going through all that administrative processes. Unfortunately, there were some stipulations in the New York City temporary liquor license that were not also applied elsewhere around the state, like earlier closing hours, you can't have live music and DJs, and another one that didn't allow a temporary liquor license to be issued at a location that had not had a liquor license within the past 2 years. Now, when this was first enacted during the worst of the pandemic, it made sense because the goal was trying to fill a lot of these empty restaurants and bars that unfortunately shuttered due to the pandemic and get new businesses in there. Well, here we are, however many years later, and it's become hugely problematic because a restaurant that shut at the beginning of the pandemic and is sitting there vacant, it's been more than 2 years. So someone is not eligible for a temporary liquor license. Or new construction, a new building goes up. You could not have had a liquor license there because there wasn't a former restaurant there. So new construction, not eligible for a temporary liquor license. So a big problem. And we're trying to work on a solution. We're working with some members of the state legislature on legislation that would get rid of that 2-year, requirement and extend it. So if you wanted to open up a place, where it hadn't had a liquor license in 5 years, or 6 years, or 7 years, or new construction, you would be eligible to get a temporary liquor license. So we're working on that. We hope in the new year, hopefully early new year, first quarter, we can get that passed and signed into law. We know a lot of businesses, this is really hurting. It's, delays putting people to work, generating tax revenue, filling vacant storefronts, and also feeds into the narrative that New York City can be very unfriendly to small businesses. So we're working on getting that changed. And honestly, there's a long list of other issues, but I think those are 3 important issues that are front and center topic on so many people's minds. The outdoor dining, stopping these bounty hunter noise violations, and making sure that more small businesses and locations will be eligible for a temporary liquor license. And with that, I think I will conclude, but I'm happy to answer any questions about those issues or anything else that may be going on in the hospitality industry in Astoria.
Hi, thanks a lot, Andrew. That was great, and that was very covered those bases well. I appreciate that. I do have a series of questions here that I'd like to ask. First of all, what do you know of this? And this may not affect you directly in restaurants as much as retail, but it's about the issue about having problems with patrons, stealing and being rowdy and having issues like that. There's a program that's being established in Queens. The district attorney had this Merchants Business Improvement Program. Have you heard about this?
I have.
Yes, and I just wanted to know if that helps within the hospitality or the restaurant business and what you think about it. It's to allow the NYPD to issue trespass notice and warnings to disruptive individuals. You would have to sign up for it, though, as a business. Is this something that's being looked upon positively by the industry?
Yeah, I truly don't know how many folks have been signed up for using it. I am aware of it. I think it could be a good initiative. I'd be, interested in getting some feedback from business owners that have. I know depending what sector of the small business community you're in, there are different issues. Obviously, retail, there's been a lot of theft. There's different types of issues at restaurants and bars, but I do think, and it's not just in your neighborhood, but neighborhoods across the city, there is an unease often among small business owners, workers, and customers about criminal activity. People don't like to go into their pharmacy and see things, locked up. People want to feel comfortable when they're in a restaurant or a bar or dining outdoors that they're not going to be harassed. So I do think initiatives that will help give people peace of mind, reduce theft, keep people safe, both physically, but also, the perception of crime is something that really bothers people if they don't feel comfortable. So, I would be very interested to see some of the data of how it's working so far, but I know that's front and center for small business owners. Both crime, but I just say quality of life issues as well. And especially in restaurant and nightlife, you have people that are going out, coming and going to bars and restaurants late at night. You have workers that are leaving, they're locking up the businesses late at night, whether they're walking home or often taking public transportation, they need to be safe. So it's a real citywide issue. And our industry is obviously very much, part of that. And, we try to provide guidance to businesses if they reach out about specific situations. Sometimes it's mental health, sometimes it's crime, sometimes it's quality of life issues. So, it's complex.
Thank you. I got a message from Frank Acabasio, who's the president of the 30th Avenue Business Association. His question was, now that so many outdoor sheds are not around, is there a projection with the new laws as to how many they think will be reestablished?
There's not. Good question. This is something I'm always juggling with. Over the past, I'd say, year, we've seen a lot of the roadway structures come down for various different reasons. I think there's certainly a lot more that could come down either in front of shuttered restaurants or that really just haven't been being used, and they're kind of run down because they were never intended to, make it through multiple seasons over multiple years in the streetway, in the roadway. So it's hard to estimate. I mean, I'm sure there'll be a lot of them, but I think most restaurants first under the permanent program are going to opt for sidewalk cafes. If they can't have a sidewalk cafe because of clearance issues, or they have enough business to justify the sidewalk and the roadway, they will go for a roadway cafe. But, I think you're going to see, I don't know, I don't want to give a number, but I think you'll see many fewer roadway cafes in the future. But hopefully it's successful. People see what works, what doesn't work, and then more do it in a thoughtful way that people can enjoy and that work within the communities that they serve.
I think you'll see more, but I also think the ones that do exist, or you will see not as many as you had before, but the ones that do exist will be much more efficient, much better.
Absolutely. And that's the goal with the design standards. One of the things now is people have had them up, and they're not going to necessarily take them down until they have to take them down. But the calculation changes when you have to start paying, when you have to go through a permitting licensing process, when you go to the community board, when you have to pay for them, when you have to do the regular maintenance and remove them and put them back. It's going to change the calculation. I tell people to put it in perspective. This was birthed out of a unprecedented, crisis. And no one thought when these things first went up in June of 2020, and since then, that we would have been in that situation for that long. So I think the ones that come back and have it under the permanent program will be nicer, and they will be many fewer. But we shall see.
Yep. Okay. I have 3 more questions. You don't have to go over long on them if you don't have time. But one question that's come up is the cost of rents and whether commercial rent controls would make sense for the industry. What's your position on it? So,
commercial rent control, we don't have a position. We have many members with a lot of different feelings about it. Some people think it's a great idea. They think it could help particularly smaller places that can't afford the ever increasing rent to stay in business. Others think look, sometimes businesses, it's just not great, but it's just the way business works. Sometimes they close and then something better ends up coming in or filling the spot. But then there's other situations if it's not a more free market, is the landlord going to invest in the upkeep of the space? Or if they feel constrained because they're not able to collect enough rent, they're not going to be able to do the general upkeep and everything that's necessary, or they just won't care as much because they won't see it as much of a profit. Their margins will shrink, and that could ultimately hurt the tenant because you have a rundown space. Or if you're negotiating to open up a new restaurant, and sometimes they'll give TI, tenant improvements. The landlord will help build out part of the space, and that's part of the negotiation of the rent. So it's tough. No, everyone has a lot of ideas, and we're very committed to what works or what doesn't work. But I think there's a lot of supporters, a lot of opposition to it. We haven't, taken a position. But what I will say, for example, in the restaurant industry is when we talk about all the costs, you look at a P&L, a profit and loss statement, and all the expenses, rent, depending on where you are, 10% of your annual sales goes to rent, and that goes up or down a little bit depending on where you are. many restaurants are now pushing like 40% labor costs, meaning that their labor cost could be about 40% of their annual sales. So when you're looking at all of the expenses, I think things like labor, not all cases, but many cases, are a much more of an expense than rent. But unfortunately, we've seen plenty of small businesses shutter because, as it's been said, the rent is often too damn high.
Yeah. Next question that comes up a lot. Food trucks and carts and their relationship with the brick and mortar stores. What is the position of the Alliance on that particular issue?
Again, this is like one of the same ones. This is a lot of these issues are neighborhood to neighborhood and sometimes just even block specific. So over the years, we've heard concerns from brick and mortars where, a cart or a truck is parked directly in front of a restaurant, and they're serving the same cuisine. So, you got a taqueria in the building, and then there's a taco truck parked out front. So you could understand why that's a concern. They don't have as many costs. But listen, if it's a different type of cuisine, it may not be a problem. Maybe it brings more foot traffic. So I think that, mobile food vending, whether it's a cart or a truck, is a really amazing and important segment of the food industry, of the food culture and everything. I think that it's been the third rail of politics for a long time, and there's been a real failure to comprehensively address how the streetscape should look with mobile vending. They had passed some laws to increase the number of permits. They set up an advisory board. I know not all the permits or many of them have been issued since they increased the number, but you have thousands and thousands of unlicensed vendors that either are just out there vending. Certainly the current migrant situation has increased that. You have many vendors that are renting sometimes upwards of $25,000 mobile vending licenses in the underground market, which I think could be addressed and reissued to actual vendors, not some guy that's living in Spain and like, I'm going to charge this guy $25,000 for a food cart. So listen, there's a lot that can be done. It's not going to make everyone happy, but I think locations need to be addressed, and I think there just needs to be more comprehensive reform. But for various reasons, that really hasn't happened. But I do think last thing I'd say is I've worked with some of the groups like the Street Vendor Project and some other folks, and not every situation, but sometimes if people can put in the work and go out and mediate, there is a conflict between a brick and mortar business and a mobile vendor. Times there are ways to address it. Just cleanliness of the street, making sure the vendors cleaning up, you're making sure if they have lines, they're not all congregating right in front of the brick and mortar business and obstructing it, or if they're selling a similar cuisine to kind of move down. Sometimes the problems can't be fixed because but other times we've been successful at addressing them.
Good. Well, I just have one more question. I know I appreciate you spending the time. We greatly appreciate it. Looks like you got your kid running around there.
Yes, she's here.
I'll make this really quick. How can the issues with city agencies, regulators, and oath, how can they be improved with the hospitality industry?
Yes. So, this administration, we work closely with the Department of Small Business Services and other agencies. One of the things we've been fighting for years and years with the city is to, cut the red tape, reduce the bureaucracy, streamline the permanent licensing process, focus on education training first, issuing violations and fines as a last resort. We've gotten a lot of really good reforms, reducing fines, allowing for warnings of cure periods for many violations before a fine is levied, already implemented. But I think it takes constant effort on the part of people in government. Just the nature of government seems to create bigger government and overreach and, bureaucracy that's complicated. So I think you need city council members and a mayor and commissioners, many of which we do have, that are dedicated to breaking through that kind of permanent bureaucracy. There's a lot of successful changes that have been made. There's still a long way to go, but I think business owners, like probably many that are tuning in now, they need to call up their city council member, their senators, their, assembly members, and stay on them and tell them, you need to pass policies to change this. Sometimes it's not like asking what government can do to help. Sometimes it's just like getting government to stop trying to do anything, not anything, but stop trying to do stuff, So
We had a presentation just before you came on too from DCP on the city of Yes and what they're trying to do with their economic
yes,
changes to improve the economic condition of the city. And that's along those lines. That's a positive thing, I think. But
Yeah.
we have to read through 600 pages though to figure out what they're actually doing.
it is. And there's some good stuff in there, but this is one of the things is that, there needs to be small business owners and people who care about these issues to go to community board meetings and comment and listen to the presentations. They're going to have to testify at public hearings to show support about this. I always say, don't talk about it, be about it. Often people that have time or that are super committed to one issue can go and dominate these conversations for better or worse. I'm not even, passing judgment, but we need people that are really directly impacted by them in so many ways to get involved with organizations like the Hospitality Alliance and make time to testify and have their voice heard, because there are a lot of different stakeholders, a lot of different interests at play here that surely are going to be trying to influence and already are the city of Yes. And if you are not part of the process and making the positive changes, you're going to get steamrolled. Or if not steamrolled, you're just going to be ignored. But there's some really good stuff in that we're working on, like dancing, eliminating many of the restrictions that go back to kind of racist policies that give the city the ability to kind of weaponize the zoning laws to go and find small businesses, shut down small businesses. So these are real important issues, both to small businesses, the economy as a whole, but also in the way that we socialize and get together. I mean, you may remember we got the cabaret law repealed, which had restricted dancing. Well, really, what restricts dancing in many places now is the zoning resolution. And one of the provisions in this city of Yes is to essentially get government out of regulating social dancing. It's not appropriate. That should be a protected First Amendment right that people have. There should be safety measures in place, means of egress and stuff of that nature. So if people are dancing and that type of activity requires more safety measures, well, those will all still be in effect under building codes, fire department codes. But you're a musician, and if you're playing in a little restaurant and, my wife and I want to get up and dance a little bit, in many of these businesses now, the city agency or the NYPD could come in and issue a violation like they did for so many years.
I remember those days very well when the cabaret law was in effect too.
Yeah. So that's something that's in there as well. So there's not a shortage of issues.
No, as a matter of fact, as you know, I sit on the land use committee here, so I'm right now trying to interpret that particular text amendment, and it's 600 pages long. Though that's sort of the problem that we're having, is being able to figure it out. But we will work on it, and it's great advice. I hope that people in the audience go to the community board's website, see when the next land use committee meeting is, when we'll be discussing this subject, and join us and give us input. We appreciate that. So
excellent.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for joining us. I greatly appreciate it.
Thanks
again,
for having me. I didn't have a slide, but anyone can go to the New York City Hospitality Alliance's website. It's the nycalliance.org, the nycalliance.org. If you have questions, you can reach out to us through the website. Follow us on social media there. And if you have a restaurant, bar, or nightclub, we'd love for you to get involved with the organization. And thanks for all you do, Richard.
Thank you so much. And if you would, you can put that information in the private chat and we'll get it out on the stream.
Great.
Okay. Thank you again. Okay. Very good perspectives, and I appreciate all that Andrew does for the city. He does a lot. Our last presenters are from the Queens Economic Development Corporation. We have both Victor Prado and Laura Altamari joining us. If you'd like to come on up, please do.
Hello.
Hi,
Richard.
everyone. Good. How you doing? Good. So this has been a very informative meeting so far. A lot of information. So now we're looking for the icing on the cake. So I guess we'll start with Laura, and then Victor will take over. And for everyone, you may all remember Victor Prado for the last 5 years or so. He's volunteered with Oana, and he's been our technical advisor, and he handled hosting all these meetings. So we greatly appreciate all that he does for Oana and the whole neighborhood. And now he's extended that. Now he's working with the Queens Economic Development Corporation. So let me leave it to you guys to take over from here, and I'll watch from the sidelines.
Thanks.
Okay, great. Great to be here tonight. It was very, very informative. Thank you for the invitation. My name is Laura Altamari, and I have been brought on for a project role with the QEDC to help spotlight Queens as a leisure and business traveler destination, and to also work with the different communities and covering all the points of entry into Queens for the It's in Queens message on where to go, what to do, where to stay, play, and that includes hotels, restaurants, the cultural institutions here, the waterfront parks, with each neighborhood having its own flavor, really. We're also going to be looking to elevate existing events such as Queen's Taste and the Queen's Night Market. That's been up for discussion. And over the next year, we're going to be amplifying Queens through social media channels, events, digital development, and I'm also making myself available to the bids and the businesses on how we can help train and elevate them in their community to, the visitors that are visiting the borough. And we're going to be doing some partnerships and collaborations. We also have a media partnership with Yelp Queens, I think, who's going to play a pivotal role to help elevate us. So just all good things happening. And I think what my goal is going to be just to see everybody putting out the same message about Queens to the public, to the community, that it's a great place to visit. It's a great place to be, whether you want to catch a movie, dine out, go to the park, go to an event, go to a cultural institution. It's just really endless here. And I think that information just needs to be pushed out more. And that's why I'm here. Victor's been very welcoming so far. We're working on a project now that, for the upcoming holiday season in Astoria. So, hopefully we'll get that off the ground. And then, we look forward to 2024. You can take it away, Victor.
Yeah, and just to complement the focus that I'm doing and the work that I'm doing in Astoria for QEDC, I am running a marketing campaign. It's called Astoria Storefronts, and the link of our Instagram will be put in the chat. But what we're doing and what I'm doing specifically is I'm going door to door in all the businesses in Astoria across our 6 major corridors. Those corridors are the following, starting at Ditmars, Astoria Boulevard, 30th Avenue, Broadway, 36th Avenue, and Steinway. And we are essentially going door to door and reaching out to as many people as possible to run a marketing campaign that's called Astoria Storefronts. So Astoria Storefronts is a marketing campaign where we go, and when I say we, I mean me specifically, we'll go take my camera to your business record video to highlight your business and to share your business across social media platforms. So the idea of the campaign is offering a free marketing video for your business to get you as much exposure as possible to drive as much business as possible to your business. So I wanted to highlight that to spread the word. If you know anyone who has a business along those corridors or anywhere in Astoria, we're not, if you're on the corner of 36th and another block, and technically you're not, that's okay. If you're in Astoria, we'll get you covered at some point. But the goal is that we're trying to drive business. We're trying to drive practical sales to your business. And in results, you get free exposure. We share it to our Instagram. Again, the link is in the chat. But if you want to search us up on Instagram, it's Astoria Storefronts on Instagram. We give you the footage. We tag you. So everyone wins. You get exposure, free exposure. You get an awesome video done, recorded in 4K, really good editing. We've partnered with Astoria Film Festival as well to do versions of Astoria Storefronts that are more attractive to the younger audience, to the middle school and high school audience, because kids after school, they usually get something to eat, and kids after school, they know the best pizza spots, the best delis that welcome these kids, because a lot of businesses, they discriminate against school kids because they just hang out there, they don't spend any money, whatever it be. But the businesses that give an open space to the kids, we're highlighting those businesses first because they were there for the kids, and now we're trying to be there for them now. And to kind of land the plane here, I did a year-long program called the CDNA, Community District Needs Assessment, which is like a business snapshot of how Astoria is doing. And of the top 3 problems that every business merchant conveyed to us, and this is over 1,000 businesses, again, across those 6 corridors, that we literally went door to door, one of the top 3 problems was marketing. So we're trying to provide practical solution to that issue, which is marketing. And in the social media world, we're not paying for ads. We're not paying with these, high-end food bloggers, nothing like that. We're trying a very organic, community-based approach where we share the post and we want you to share the post. And it's a word-of-mouth effect to drive more business to these businesses. The average lifespan of a business in Astoria, data proven, is 12 years. Very above average for the New York City data set. So Astorians love their small businesses. And one way to support your small businesses is by simply sharing that business across your social media profiles. It's even easier than going there and spending your money. It's just simply sharing it so your people, your audience can see it as well. Although the end goal is to drive you there and buy something, order something, whatever it may be. So again, if you are interested, you can DM us at our Instagram. It's Astoria Storefronts on Instagram. Again, the link will be in the chat. And we are doing literally a free, no strings attached marketing video. We provide you the footage. We share it on our Instagram. And we want Astoria businesses to thrive. That's the end.
Good. Well, thank you so much. It's a great overview. I'm not sure if you got into this. I might have missed it. But Laura, I think when we spoke earlier, did you give some information on your background and who you previously worked with?
I didn't, but I can.
No, why not?
So why not? Sure, little plug. So I've had my own agency for the past 15 years. It's called Fine Taste LLC, and I represent restaurants, hotels, and chefs through PR marketing. And just this past summer, I obtained my real estate license in commercial real estate. So I have partnered with a firm called KMC Hospitality, of course, in hospitality. And we work to get lease deals and sales for restaurants and hotels. So that is another layer that I can help with anyone who is looking for space to open up a business in Queens. I have Queens, Long Island, and the East End is what I cover for KMC Hospitality. We are currently now working with developers in Queens to place restaurants at new developments. But I also just placed a spa here in my own neighborhood in a new space, which made me so happy to do that because she was elated to get her new space and grow it. And, you know, I'm open to help anybody to do that, to make their business dream come true here in Queens.
Thank you. Thank you. You have a fertile ground in Queens? We do.
Yeah.
You know, this is
I'm a
growing,
Queensian. Yep, lifelong. I've been here my whole life.
well, it's a growing borough for all of us,
Yeah.
and it's becoming more and more prominent
It
worldwide.
is. It is. Definitely.
Victoria. So again, we appreciate everything that the Queens Economic Development Corporation does. It's a great asset for our community.
Yeah.
And I think you guys are both, you're lucky to be with them, but they're lucky to have you. So
Thank you.
guys, I look forward to keeping in touch with you quite a bit. I hope that
For
you
sure.
found the presentation interesting tonight.
Absolutely.
And, we
Yeah.
do hope that it does help small business in the area. And with that, thank you guys so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate it.
You're
Thank you,
very
Richard.
welcome. And I know you're working on some projects. And like I said, if you need any marketing help, you know who to call. I'll put my my information in the private chat. Happy to help.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. And I'd like to thank everybody in the audience for joining us this evening. It's been an interesting evening. Again, if you have any questions concerning the Small Business Administration, which presentation, which was chock full of all sorts of programs and training and lots of assets that are available for business. You know, you can refer back to the recording, and also you can, if you want, you can reach out directly to Man Lee. We're sorry that there were some problems with the tech, but this does happen. Other than that, I'd love to thank Andrew Ridgey and Yating Lee and Louis and Victor and Laura, who just came on, for joining us this evening. Also for Chris Ryan from DCP for giving us a presentation on the City of Yes. We hope you guys have had a great evening, and please join us live at the Sweet Spot on 23rd Street Avenue and 31st Street on December 12th at 6:30 for the presentation by the Port Authority on their proposed shuttle buses from the Ditmars Station to LaGuardia Airport. We think this is an important subject for the neighborhood, and it'll have a lot to do with quality of life in that neighborhood. So thank you, and see everybody soon. Good night.